if you want society to become a Christ-centered society, you want to bring Christ into the society, you want to have a second coming, then what happened at the first coming? What did John the Baptist, what was his mission? His mission was to prepare a people fit for the Lord. And how did he do that? It says in Luke, right in the beginning, by turning the hearts of fathers to their children and children to their fathers. It's a family affair. You want to change society? You change society through the family. Why the family? You know, why didn't Jesus just come and appear to us as a man? He came and he appeared to us as a child. Because why? Because there was so much sin, and we need to do penance to atone for sin. What is the best penance we can do? The faithful fulfillment of our daily duty. Our innocent suffering, our innocent sacrifice is the money in the kingdom. And that innocent suffering, that innocent sacrifice, what's the best sacrifice? Yes, the faithful fulfillment of your daily duty, but the greatest sacrifice ever, the greatest suffering is love. Sometimes in the spiritual life, we get caught in this whole focus on suffering, and we forget that the greatest, Jesus' greatest suffering on the cross were not his wounds, it was his wounded heart. And so, why did he come as a little child? Because it's the innocence of little children who are loving God that pour the most amount of spiritual money into the spiritual economy. Why did Our Lady Our Lady of Good Help, and come and say, gather the children? Because it's the sacrifice of praise, the sacrifice of love, the innocent sacrifice that has the most effect. And so you think, okay, I need to go out and I need to petition my senators, I need to do all these political things. You need to go out and get your children to love God, because they will be holding back the hand of chastisement through the love that they share. Because the greatest suffering is the suffering of a loving heart, seeking for the good of the beloved. And who can do that best? Little children. So Jesus came as a little child because that was the best way to hold back chastisement. And even today, if you look in society, Mr. Conacher used to stand up here and say, we're at war. And I would sit in those seats and say, oh yeah, we're at war. Like, I don't see it. It's like, well, look at the signs of the times. I am. There's no tanks on my border. And he's saying, donate money. It's like, like for what? There's no tanks there. Learn the signs of the time. When the tanks are at the border, that's not a sign of war. That is war. What are the signs of the times? If you back up and say, okay, what can I look at? I finally realized he's right. We are at war. We're in a tremendous war right now. What war are we in? I don't see this, Mike. Where are you coming from? I finally realized what he was saying. War starts in the human heart. If you want to know the signs of the time, look at the human heart today. We are at war with passions within ourselves. Wars between nations is only the fruit of a heart at war. And if you want peace in nations, you're not going to get it through the absence of war. You're going to get it through peace of heart for living what God has called you to do. And how is there going to be enough grace for us to avoid the real war that's coming? Because the bottom line is, I tell you right now, you can invest your money in your 401k and plan for your retirement. But if there were tanks that showed up on your property, you would sell everything and you would buy implements of war and you would protect yourself. You would invest in implements of war. And oftentimes it takes for us to see tanks before we do anything. And that happened in Germany. There were many wealthy German folks who said, okay, I'm ready to do it. It was too late. The implements of war were already in production. They couldn't stop it. The time to fight for peace is during the absence of war. This is the time to fight. How do we fight? What are the implements of war, of the spiritual war? Loving hearts. We need to be investing our money into families who can raise up innocent, loving children, who can pay the price, who can be the implements of war. And the real war is the war in the human heart, to get them to love, to bring peace back. If we just say, okay, I'm planning for my retirement, I guarantee you, prophecy, Cardinal Daniel Liu said, prophecy is not so much predicting the future as it is interpreting the present with respect to the past. And all I can guarantee you, we are on the way to war that's going to be coming out upon us because it's already in our hearts. Do you not see it in the news? Don't look for the tanks. Look for the violence in our streets. Look for the violence that's happening within our people. We are so indulged with entertainment. We are at war with our passions, and that war will spill out onto our streets and into our countries. And when we're saving our money and investing for a future, we're investing in a future that's not going to be there. It will be wiped out unless we get the implements of war and invest in them now, and that is our loving hearts and the loving hearts of our children. Jesus came as a child into the world for 30 years. What kind of political approach is that? You're going to spend all this time growing up? Get to the point. That was the point. The Holy Family was the point. He was glorifying God as much in the Holy Family as he was on Calvary. That was the greatest act of love in the history of the world. But it was a tremendous act of love and great love throughout the whole time within the family. That's why this ministry, reaching out to families, is so important today. Read the signs of the times. We had the year of faith. Why? Because faith is falling. And what's happening now? It's the time of the family. Listen not to Michael O'Rourke. Listen to the church. The church is telling you this is the hour of the family. And if we don't reach out now and train our children to be holy and work on our own holiness today, forget about your 401ks. There will be nothing left. The war in the human heart will spill out into the war of the world.